Hi guys, welcome to this homemade Christmas card step-by-step watercolour tutorial. Let's get started. I'm actually going to be painting these cute little gnomes here. I've actually sketched them out with a waterproof drawing pen, and for a full list of all the materials I'm using, please see the description below. So I'm painting the hat here wet on dry with Winsor Red with my size 6 round brush. And I'm actually adding a touch more red with a little bit of alizarin crimson just to make it slightly darker, and I'm painting this damp into wet just to create some shadow. Not that there is very much shadow there, but it's just to make them look a little bit more 3D. Now you don't have to use the pen, you can just use pencil and paint them in watercolour, but I would just really fancied using a bit of line and wash for the Christmas card tutorial. And just to say a big thank you to Laura from my Patreon membership for the suggestion, and I have to say this is my first time painting gnomes or Christmas elves, so it's really fun to do and they are so cute. So I'm just painting their noses here with a little bit of burnt sienna watered down. I'm mixing up some ultramarine now with the red to make a shadow colour and just to paint a little bit of sort of darks and details just at the bottom of their beards there, using the tip of my round brush there, and I'm working wet on dry. I did pick up a little bit of red there on the left, but I'm not going to worry about that because it just makes it look more festive. So I am actually painting with the same red, the Winsor Red, wet on dry, around those little circles there. So I'm painting this very loosely. I don't mind leaving little white gaps on the paper as well. It's quite nice for line and wash if you don't try to paint right up to the lines. Keep everything fresh and loose. And always, as you saw there, try to just load your brush. Make sure you've always got plenty of paint on your brush. And I'm just working my way down to the bottom of the pointy hat here, still using that Winsor Red with my size 6 round brush. I'm just going to add a little bit of yellow to that red now to make a red orange, and I'm just painting the booties now here wet on dry, and again a little bit ran into the beard area. Again, I'm not going to worry, and I've also sort of painted the sort of clothing, and I have forgotten to give them some hands, so I'm just going to sketch that in now. I'm trying to avoid the wet paint, of course, and I'm keeping these hands like mittens, really simple. You could actually do a set of cards here, so do lots of little gnomes with different sort of patterns on their clothing, slightly different colours, etc. So just adding a little bit more dark here, painting damp into damp. I added a touch of the alizarin crimson to the red, and again it just makes them look a little bit more realistic. If you can make gnomes look more realistic, that is. But painting the little mittens here, or their hands wet on dry with that red, and red is such a Christmassy colour, so I think it really does look bright and cheerful against that white beards as well. So I've mixed up the ultramarine with a touch of the red there, painting wet on dry, just a little bit of shadow. They're almost like sitting on snow, so I've used a bit of artistic license there, and I'm just going to paint some shadow as well in the foreground. So I've decided to paint a sky in the background. Now, if you're worried about the wet paint getting onto the red hats, do allow your hats and the gnomes to dry before you start painting the sky. But I'm taking a bit of a risk here, but I've left a little gap in between. I'm just painting a little bit of cerulean blue, wet into wet in the sky area, carefully painting around the gnomes. And the blue really brings out the red and vice versa. So I quite like using these colours, especially for sort of Christmas cards and things like that. It just makes everything sort of really bright and cheerful and Christmassy looking. I'm just mixing up a little bit of the red with a touch of ultramarine just to paint a touch of shadow underneath their noses and a little bit more in the beard area, sort of damp into dam, and just above the noses where the hat creates a little bit of shadow there as well. And I'm also going to use that shadow colour to paint their little pom-poms I put at the top of their pointy hats as well, and adding a touch more of that ultramarine and red at the bottom there to make them look like they're sitting on the ground. I'm going to allow my painting to dry. So I'm going to use some white gouache. You can use white watercolour, and I'm going to sort of add a touch of water to it, not too much because it'll go a little bit more transparent. I want it to be quite opaque, but what I'm doing is I'm actually spattering wet on dry the gnomes there, and it just makes it look again a little bit more Christmassy because of the white against the red. It looks sort of wintry but fun as well. So I'm just sort of spattering in front of them here as well, and I think I'll leave it there for now. I'm going to allow my painting to dry. And what I thought would be quite nice to do is spatter some red as well, just here and there, especially on the hat area. Again, I thought it'd just make it look fun. And I'm just using some white gouache now. I lost a little bit of my light, so I'm painting that wet on dry. So I'm going to allow my painting to dry once more. So I'm going to go back in with my pen again on the dry painting just to sharpen up some of the details, some of the drawing. Sometimes the pen can fade back a little bit when you've got a watercolour wash over the top. So this just sort of brings everything forward, etc. And you can add a few more sort of details and a touch of cross-hatching to create some shadows as well. And here's a little close-up of the painting. I thought it'd be quite nice to use a little bit of gold paint. This is calligraphy ink, but you can use gold or silver just to give the painting a little bit of sparkle. So I'm using my size 4 round brush and just applying some gold paint just here and there on the hats, on their shoes, just so when you can hold it to the light, it can give that little Christmassy sparkle to finish off my painting. And here's a close-up here, and you can see it's really shimmering, that calligraphy ink. You could also use some PVA glue and some glitter as well to give your card a little bit of sparkle. So I'm going to allow my painting to dry, and I'm going to use a glue stick to attach the painting to my card. I'm using a blank square card here, and I'm just gluing the back of the painting. And if you notice there, I put some paper towel down to protect the painting so it doesn't get any smudges or anything on it. And I really make sure that you put lots of glue around the edges. I've turned the paper towel over so there's no glue there. I'm putting the blank card down, just lining up the card now to make sure that it's central on the card before I stick down. And what I'm going to do is get another piece of kitchen towel, stick it on top of the painting and press down firmly, especially around the edges, to make sure that the painting is securely fixed to the card, securely glued down. As you can see there, pressing down on the edges, removing the paper towel, and here is my card. I'm really pleased with it, and I hope you're inspired to paint this little card. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments section, and if you'd like to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe to my channel where you'll get updates of my latest tutorials. And if you'd like to get access to my exclusive weekly tutorials, why not think about joining my Patreon membership? Details about the membership can be found in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. Happy painting. Bye for now.